Hello and welcome. Glad to have you here. Today we're diving in one of the most empowering truths I've ever learned. We're looking into another one of our mental faculties, reason, and the law of thinking. The law of thinking teaches us that everything, and I mean everything, begins in the mind. If we think of every invention, every breakthrough, every movement in history, it all started with a single thought in someone's mind. And the same is true for you and for me. Now, we might not realize it, but we are thinking our life into existence. And here's the good news. If we don't like what's showing up in our lives, guess what? We can change it. How? By changing what and how we think. We live in a world that values mental hustle, constant doing, constant planning, overthinking, overanalyzing, fixing, and controlling. And because our minds are always busy, we assume that we're thinking. But mental activity is not the same as real thinking. Your brain might be active, but that does not mean that you're thinking with intention. It's kind of like sitting in a car with the engine running, but never actually driving anywhere. You're still in park. Mental activity is a stream of thoughts that runs on autopilot. And it looks like replaying old conversations, maybe a fight you had with someone the night before, worrying about the future, judging yourself or others, going over the to-do list for the 10th or the 20th time. You know, my mom used to call it in Spanish, la loca de la casa, which means the crazy lady in the house. It's loud, it's reactive, and most of the time it's unconscious. We're not choosing those thoughts. They're just playing in the background like a noisy radio we forgot to turn off. My mentor, Bob Proctor, once said, if most people had to say out loud what they were thinking, they'd be speechless. Because much of what we call thinking isn't thinking at all. It's just a lot of noise. See, real thinking has a purpose. True thinking is structured, is intentional, and it also often uses another mental faculties like reason, perception, and imagination. Real thinking seeks solutions, deeper understanding, or creative outcomes. It requires that we get quiet. It requires that we are present. And sometimes we even need silence before clarity can come through. Mental activity, on the other hand, happens on autopilot. You know, I remember a time in my life when I used to wake up already feeling behind, already overwhelmed. My thoughts were heavy. They were filled with what ifs, with to-dos, and with not enoughs. Until one day I realized that I had been rehearsing those thoughts in my mind for years. And that became the lens through which I view my life. So that day I made a choice. I started from that day on, each day, with a thought that felt just a little bit lighter. It was something like this. Today is a new day. Today, I get to choose who I'm becoming. And over time, that choice became a habit. That habit became a belief. And that belief became my life today. Now, is my life perfect? Of course not. But I can tell you one thing, it's a heck of a lot better than it was years ago. And you know what? It keeps getting better with each passing day. So some people ask me, well, how do I know if I'm really thinking or if it's just the crazy lady in the house mumbling? And here is a simple breakdown. Mental activity is reactive and is automatic and is instant. Real thinking is intentional and is conscious. Mental activity is emotionally charged with fear, with anger, with guilt. Real thinking uses reason, perception, and sometimes imagination. Mental activity keeps you stuck in a thinking loop, the overthinking, that circle around the same thoughts, usually fear-based, without clarity or direction. This isn't reasoning. Worrying is like rocking in a chair. It gives you something to do, but it gets you absolutely nowhere. Real thinking moves you forward. Mental activity lives in the past or in the future. Real thinking is rooted in the present moment. Mental activity happens on autopilot. To truly think, we must pause, we must become aware, and we have to focus our attention. So if you're going through a challenge in your life right now, and it doesn't really matter what it is, whether it's a problem in a relationship, something wrong at work, a health issue, ask yourself, can I change this? Can I change it? And use your reasoning to see if there is a path. If that reasoning reveals a way for you to change it, then act on it. Get moving and do it. But if you can't change it, perception becomes your superpower. Now the question changes. Now you're going to ask yourself, how else can I look at this? What is this teaching me? Perception can turn pain into purpose and obstacles into opportunities if we're willing to look for them. So this week, I invite you to notice when the crazy lady in the house is running the show. Take a deep breath, tell her to hush, and let your reason take the wheel. I'm Grace Bosco. I want to thank you again for sharing this space with me. Stay tuned for the next episode. Until then, quiet the noise and think with intention. We'll talk soon.